Hello and welcome to the Dash News podcast. This is episode 113. I'm Mark Mason and I'm joined by my fellow co-host, Joel Valenzuela. Happy Friday, Joel.
Happy Friday, you too. Cheers.
Caffeinated, ready to go. And I know there are many people that are excited about this episode. I tweeted first thing this morning, UK time, of course, that we had a special guest on today, and it's a real strategic area that this guest focuses on, and he's no stranger to Dash by any means. So I would like to welcome to the podcast Cryptobuyer CEO Jorge Farias. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Mark, for having me. How are you, Joel? Well, very excited to share the work of Cryptobuyer.
Yes, I would never have guessed you worked for Cryptobuyer, except thankfully you have your camera on and I can see you do.
Okay.
Excellent. We've communicated a lot in the past, but I think this is probably the first time we've really had like a video chat and seen each other. It was kind of crazy because I think we've probably been in contact for the best part of a year, probably longer than that for many announcements. But I've got so many questions I want to ask you because Cryptobuyer is so instrumental to Dash and its business development strategy. Now, most people, when they think of Dash, they normally think of Venezuela, right? Because we've been doing a lot of outreach there. But Cryptobuyer doesn't just serve Venezuela. You're kind of like covering the whole Latin American area. And one of the things that I hope to achieve from this podcast is get more insight from you just on the role cryptocurrency is playing in Latin America. And you was born in Venezuela, right? But you now live in Panama. Is that correct?
That's right. I'm born and raised in Venezuela. And that's one of the reasons because we start Cryptobuyer, because we really know what are the problems that the country are facing. As you know, all the media talks about it all the time. And the hyperinflation stuff, and also the problems with the lack of money, of current money that is flowing on the streets is something that is killing the people. And obviously, my background was it's not only from Cryptobuyer. I work for two other startups in Latin America. The first one, Bitpago from Argentina, is one of the most old startups. I was invited to work with these guys and start going deep on the cryptocurrency side. Next, I worked to another company in San Francisco, and eventually I start Cryptobuyer with the experience and the ideas that I get from these two other startups, but more focused on the people and in the situation. Because one of the things that frustrates me all the time was eventually I need to go through, and I know a manager or a director in San Francisco, I'm telling this is the situation in Venezuela, this is going to happen, we need to make this change to grow the operations in the rest of the countries, and never get it, never understand it. Eventually, I left these two companies and started working with Cryptobuyer, with a huge team, with a great team that is also from Venezuela. Or my CTO, Ruben Colina, my chief operator officer, Angel Graterol, are from Venezuela too, and all knows what are the problems, and all knows how can be solved, and that's the history of the beginning of Cryptobuyer in 2015.
2015, yeah, because you're pretty well known on the scene already, right? And of course, I think you still got family in Venezuela, so you understand about the remittances and everything else. Before the podcast started, we were saying that even though we've got colleagues within the Dash Force and Dash News team based in Venezuela, and they're still experiencing power cuts even like now and stuff. But we're saying, like, from a westernized point of view, even what we're seeing on the news isn't really giving us like a clear picture of what's happening on the ground. What, in terms of like adoption of cryptocurrency within, we'll start with Venezuela, and then we'll go more broad. But because like you've got first-hand experience of Venezuela, do you the cryptocurrency movement, is it real in Venezuela? We see merchants being onboarded, but is it really resonating to you? Is it breaking through? It's a key market for you, right? So it's not just remittances, it's everything.
Yeah. I can talk about the perspective of Cryptobuyer of our operation. And obviously, we are attending people from all around the world, mostly as expats that is living in Spain, in Italy, and the rest of the of South America, like Argentina, Mexico. We see that the people choose cryptocurrency against another systems because it's secure, it's fast, and also it's cheap. And this is a reality. Obviously, the numbers are growing and in the same pace that the education is growing. And also the word of mouth on the communities, on the social media, that is one of our focus, is something that is helping to grow these communities. Telling that it's a basic element right now in the economy, I can tell you right now. But the fact is, if the local government is talking about cryptocurrencies, all the media is talking about cryptocurrencies, and they are embracing options to the majority of the people to start using some kind of cryptocurrency, I can agree with this. At this moment, we have 50,000 registered users from all around the world. And again, they are operating mostly to send some kind of remittance and also to make payments in the stores that already have our point of sale that I'm going to tell you later. But for me, it's a reality. It's growing. And as a Venezuelan, I can tell you that more of my family is living thanks to the cryptocurrencies right now. And this is my personal experience.
Wow. So you've got the data firsthand. Have you noticed over the last year there's been an uptrend in terms of usage on the exchange? And you know, forgive me for asking, but like, how is Dash performing on Cryptobuyer? Is it? I'm guessing it's one of the preferred options. And you know, you don't have to just be nice. I just want the truth. Is Dash doing well on Cryptobuyer?
Does everyone really just want Litecoin at the end of the day?
Well, I need to be honest. We start obviously with Bitcoin when no one's talked about cryptocurrencies in Venezuela. This is around almost 5 years ago, and the people don't remember this because the industry is growing very fast, and all this stuff that appears all the day, the people simply forget the news of the last day. But Cryptobuyer was the first company in South America to embrace Dash, and the people don't remember that. And we start with a pilot because we see in that moment that the transactions and the fee of the Bitcoin network is killing the people, because when you have a country, when the minimum wage is around $4 or $5, how can you pay $1 in fee or $2 in fee? That's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's the reason, because we go through Dash in that moment and we see it as a valid option. And also the name says everything, digital cash. And for us, was the first currency that integrates after Bitcoin. Right now, obviously, the operations are depending of the market, depending of the fee of the network is climbing in Dash or climbing in Litecoin. But the trend on the last 2 months is that Dash was the currency that is most used on our platforms.
So it outpaced Bitcoin?
2 months ago, outpaced Bitcoin. The last month, but 2 months ago,
yeah, that's still pretty cool. I have an article that I wrote 1.5 years ago about Cryptobuyer dropping Bitcoin due to fees. I assume that was like a temporary thing. There was a time when you didn't have it anymore, just had Dash and Litecoin. And I don't remember, was that on just like the point of sale system? Was that on the entire exchange? Tell me a little bit more about that time.
And that time was the days of the war of the forks and the Bitcoin, the hash. Obviously, for us, was very frustrating because people actually, again, are depending of the platform to the daily basis. And we have clients that old ladies of 60 years old that is waiting for the remittance using crypto to live 1 other week. And eventually when this comes and you need to pay around $20 to make a transactions in Bitcoin, that's crazy and was very frustrating for all the team. And eventually we put an announcement and we do an APR and we say we are dropping Bitcoin because it's not working for us. And obviously the transaction with Dash and the and Litecoin was exploded. But eventually the things goes normally again and we resume. But it's the things, if Dash are not present at that moment, the platform simply stops. That's the truth.
In the past, I think it was, I want to say it was a few months ago now, but wasn't there a promotion with Cryptobuyer where you was offering 0 fees for Dash from memory? Is that still going, or was that like a temporary thing?
Was around 2 months, the promotion. Obviously in order to embrace the adoption and empower the growth, the transactions of the ATMs was super well received because the people go to our ATMs when the price is something in the market. When the price are climbing, all the people are running to the ATMs. When the price are dropping, the people don't use mostly. But when we launched this promotion, all the people goes to transact with Dash. Was a way to show also to the people that is a more cheap way to transact and also more faster, and the people love it.
Excellent. So Cryptobuyer is not just an exchange. You got a POS solution and you've got ATMs. Now let's make this easy and focus on it one by one. So if we focus on the exchange part first, I think many people watching this, including especially the Masternode community, we've seen many proposals and grassroots efforts in Venezuela onboarding merchants, and sometimes it becomes like a merchant's number game. And it's one of the things that we don't really see, and which I think people will find interesting, is that we're wondering on the adoption side of the actual public in Venezuela, how easy it is for them to switch up the Venezuelan Bolivia into Dash, like the on-ramp, off-ramp solution. And I think without a doubt, you're the biggest exchange player operating in that area. So I think it'll be of real interest to the network just to see what that process is, how the workflow is, and how easy it is for Venezuelans, because that is the biggest pain point. We could have all the merchants that there is. If it's difficult for them to get hold of Dash, then you know that we're obsolete from the start. Now clearly they are obtaining it and they are spending it, because we're seeing transaction numbers go up and wallet downloads go up. So I'm assuming you're contributing and helping that situation. And one of the reasons why I'm excited to have you on is because, and don't switch off the podcast, because there's going to be a lot more to say. Jorge's kindly agreed to do like 2 demos, one to actually show the exchange and to show the process, because a lot of us see it from the outside, but we want to see the inside view, and also later on to show us a demo of the POS application as well.
Absolutely.
Joel, before we get into the live exchange demo to see the process, is there anything that you would else want to know, like data wise, about how Dash is doing? I think we just heard like Dash is doing pretty well a few months back, being in Bitcoin, which is always good to hear. But apart from that, is there anything else you think do you want to highlight before we see a live demo?
Yeah. I want to talk about the solution, the brokerage side that we have. We focus the attention of the user experience on the actual experience of the people in Venezuela. In as opposite of the rest of the country, when you have more than 60% of the population unbanked, in Venezuela the banking penetration is very high. The people have 2 or 3 bank accounts. Obviously, are not working right now because the local currency is worthless. But the people are very aware about the online systems, how it works, the online banking. And we choose 2 or 3 of the major banks in Venezuela and try to do something similar, the flow similar of the actual online banking that the people already use, in order to make more simple the transaction and the first steps of the people. And based on that experience of the local banking, we create Cryptobuyer. I'm more than happy to show to you and Joel and all the audience how it works.
Excellent. So Joel, you ready for this live demo?
Yes.
and Jorge to get things going. I'm sure we
Born
can have
ready.
questions and stuff on the way. Now, we'll try to give as best audio commentary as possible, because Jorge, this also goes out as a audio podcast as well, so they won't be able to see. So we'll try to help with the visuals by saying what's going on. So,
absolutely.
So,
well, I'm going to start sharing my screen right now.
Excellent. I always love a demo. So once Jorge gets his screen share sorted, I will select his screen. So it's okay. So now that should be up and everyone's watching. Yes, excellent. We can see the exchange. Cryptobuyer. There we go. I can see buy and sell. Dash. Yes. Don't sell it, buy it.
Oh,
yeah.
There's something I don't like as much, but hey, that's fine.
Well, basically, the website embraces you to operate with our platform, and often offering a friendly and secure alternative to the actual operations that the people have. It's not a secret that local Bitcoin is one of the biggest players in the region, but the thing with this platform is that the people need to trust in people that you never meet. And in the case of Cryptobuyer, we are operating since 2015 as a semi-centralized system. You can see in this part of the web some of the comments of the users, because we are more involved with the process of the comments of the people, because we have a send desk system that allows the people to communicate to us and tell what you want, what are the next iteration that Cryptobuyer wants to, that you want the Cryptobuyer have. We are very, very interested on the opinions of the users, on the actual users. In that way, we are iterating the platform. Basically, we are going to sign in right now on my personal account. You have the option to log in with Twitter or Google or Facebook as a regular platforms. I'm entering right now on my profile. Basically, the system asks you for a two-factor authentication, send you a code to your email to enter. I'm waiting right now to the code. Give me a second. Okay. Okay. When I enter the code, we are entering to the dashboard of the platform. As you can see, and the people can imagine, we have a very simple minimalist interface with very few options. Basically, you're gonna see just as a start and just as enter the platform with the price of Bitcoin and Dash and Litecoin, real time, and also a wallet, a fiat wallet, and the options to reshare your cell phone, and also to purchase gift cards. That is another of the services that we offer on the platform. Basically, obviously, you need to top up your account with the local currency. In this case, we are operating as a Venezuelan user. You can access to other options depending of the KYC that you make on the platform. You can, in this case, in the platform, is the KYC is doing in Panama and Venezuela. But the first step in this case is obviously make a top up of your fiat wallet on Cryptobuyer. Basically in Venezuela, we allow the people to deposit on our local bank accounts in bolivars. And also we are integrating another on-ramp with a local retailer, when the people can go to one of the locations of this retailer and put money there, bolivars, and it's going to be reflected on your fiat wallet on Cryptobuyer. And in this case, and to not make the demo too long, basically, we already have a top up that I made with a local bank deposit. In this case, we have in this wallet 500,000 bolivars. That is around $50, something like that, at the actual rate. And when you see this wallet with the Venezuelan flag, you have the options to use funds. When you go to use funds, you have the options to select the cryptocurrency that you want, and also you see the price of the crypto. Obviously, we are going to buy Dash right now. You have a minimal and a maximum amount of the order. In this case, we are going to buy $200,000 bolivars of Bitcoin. When you put the amount, the calculation of the Dash amount is shown to you, and also the rate at the moment. Okay, one Dash right now in bolivars in Venezuela is 1.2 million bolivars. Okay, but well, with the last currency change, eventually this was around 120 million bolivars. But well, this is another story. Well, I'm showing this for you have an idea of the process, and you need to be very, very clear in every step for the Venezuelan market, because the exchange rates change every time. And you need to show what is the minimum amount, what is the maximum amount that you can transact daily. And also you need to separate very, very specifically to the people don't have a mistake putting one more zero. That is something that we need to iterate every week on the platform. This is part of the job that Cryptobuyer do for the Venezuelan users. Another important thing about Cryptobuyer, we are not custodial of the funds, okay? We don't have a wallet of cryptocurrency of the users. We allow to the people to use any kind of wallet. We make this because in Venezuela, the people make payments in the point of sale using an exchange account, for example. That is crazy. And it's something that the people maybe in the States or in UK never do it. But the people in Venezuela only use the thing that have on the hand. Eventually, we figured out that the best way to operate with the users in Latin America is to allow to transact with any kind of wallet. For that reason, we obviously recommend a wallet, but eventually the people can use any kind of wallet. And the only thing that needs to do is to put a Dash wallet, for example. And in this case, I'm copying a Dash wallet here. And put in the field and only validate the code that you receive on your email.
Excellent.
Give me a second. I'm waiting for the code.
Joel, how do you feel about Jack's wallet? I can see your eyebrows move. I know you're a fan of the Edge wallet personally, but it makes sense to recommend a multi cryptocurrency asset wallet. Obviously, because you've got Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Dash available on the exchange, so it makes sense to have a.
Yeah, I have not been a recent fan of Jack's. I've tried. I really tried. I'm just saying, I would recommend Edge usually, and a secondary one might be Koinomi. They seem to be simple and relatively reliable.
Yeah, we are already are recommending right now Edge, but again, it's something that the people can choose. Okay.
Yeah. I guess you got to think about the market as well, because although we're looking at the exchange now and it's translated into English beautifully, we've got to think about in terms of support for the Spanish-speaking audience in Latin America. And I don't know what that support is like for Jack's, Edge, or any of ones, because I'm a Dash fanboy, so I mostly use the official Dash wallets anyway, right? So I guess that's a factor that you have to take into consideration as well.
Yeah. Well, also, it's going to be very interesting to see what people learn about the currencies they use, because most usage in a lot of the world is speculation. People buy and sell on exchanges. And if you go to an exchange and you say, I'm going to buy some Bitcoin, you buy some Bitcoin, you have it. And then you can trade it for anything else. It's all the same until you try to actually move it off the exchange on chain, to where you really start seeing some problems or some differences. And so I think that this might be interesting where people are like, I'm going to buy Bitcoin, and they buy it, and then they get like less of it in their wallet, and it takes forever because fees and congestion. And they're like, what is this? And then they go experience Dash, and they're like, oh, I get it. Or I wonder, do you estimate you'll start seeing some, because of this off-platform thing, you'll see some complaints with people saying, why is a Bitcoin, I bought this much and I didn't get that much back?
Yeah, I guess that comes down to the customer support side, and I guess it's going to be tricky. And I think that's what Jorge was saying before. Even with the Bolivia being so volatile and the numbers just changing all the time, thinking that you're executing on a trade at a certain price and then things changing. But yeah, I think that's a really good question. So Jorge, you got quite a big team, right, working for you, and what do you offer in terms of support? Do you have a support team?
Yeah, we already have 12 people working on the team. Basically, are based in Panama. Also, we have some people in Venezuela. But actually, we are mostly of the team are dedicated to the support side of the platform. Okay, obviously, the efforts are only I do the transaction right now. The transaction was created successfully, and in the next minutes, it's going to be sent to the wallet that I choose. Okay, this is basically the operations. I spend more time waiting for the code that made the transaction, but basically that is the flow of the operation. Okay, it's super simple. It's something that the people in Venezuela love it because they don't need to go to different verifications and validations. And also you can put 2 or 3, 5 transactions at the same time, okay? And also you can keep adding funds using your bank accounts and putting new transactions on the web, okay? But responding to your question, we are most focused on the user experience and also in the people and attending the people, because the people have a lot of questions about the operation of the platform. Mostly because because what's recommended for another guy, but they need to go and see how it operates. The best way to understand the platform and the system is to use it. And also we have an app, YouTube channel with all the tutorials, so the people go through step by step how to use the platform. Okay. The other option that we offer on the platform is the cell phone refill, that is provided by the refill. And obviously you have the options to make recharge of your mobile phone, because the prepaid options in Latin America is very popular. And you can see, for example, I choose Panama in this screen, and you can see all the operators of the mobile phones in Panama. This is very popular because the people and the expats send money, mobile top-ups using the systems. You only need to choose the operator, put the mobile phone of the number, and choose the cryptocurrency. That's it, and you can make richer from $1, for example. Okay. One of the things that Dash is killer here is because the transaction is super cheap, and you can make a mobile top up of only $1. And when we integrate instant send, it's gonna be more killer. But this is something very popular. And the other integration that we have on the platform is the gift cards. That is also provided by BeRefill. As you know, you have more than 200 different options of gift cards that you can choose on BeRefill, and we already offer in Spanish to our users. One of the most popular, obviously, is Amazon. Amazon. The gift cards are very popular because the people can make purchases of spare parts and food and medicines online, and you only need to go to the selection of the option of Amazon, choose the amount that you want to operate, choose Dash in this case, place the order. When you place the order, you're gonna be invited to make the payment using Dash directly on our platform, making scanning the QR code or sending the amount, copying the address. Okay, It's pretty simple. Amazon obviously is one of the most popular. Dash is also very well used in the platform to purchase this kind of gift cards. In a region when the people don't have credit cards, when don't have bank accounts, and don't have any options to make this kind of online purchases, the gift cards are killer in the region.
I guess want to friends and family as well, right? If you send to loved ones, yeah.
Absolutely.
Is this is this accessible? Because like we're looking at this on a browser, and if people in Venezuela they only have like a mobile phone device, a smartphone, is this still accessible to them via mobile?
Yeah, the website is totally responsive. Obviously, the people can access from any kind of device. Okay, but something that we always encourage the people is to try to use the web interface, but the people can access easily through a mobile device.
And do you have a mobile application as well for the exchange?
That's right.
With all the same functionality as well.
That's right. Obviously, the idea is to expand to the rest of the region using different on-off ramps. For example, one of the next iteration of Cryptobuyer is to start operating in Mexico. And the options that you're going to have in Mexico is going to be OXXO. OXXO is the major retail. It's like a mini market. So it's more than 10,000 locations all across Mexico. And you can go to one of these locations and make a mobile top-up, a fiat top-up for Cryptobuyer, and you're gonna have access to all these services. The key here, and part of the job of Cryptobuyer, is to find the best partners in every country. We don't want to go to start the branch of Cryptobuyer in Mexico, the branch of Cryptobuyer in Argentina. We want to partner, and that's part of the job of my job, with the biggest players on every country to use it as an on-off ramp of the fiat. Okay, in that way, we don't need to deal about the local regulations. We don't need to deal about local banking. We don't need to deal with all this kind of stuff, and it's going to be more easy. And also, you're going to offer a differentiator for the locations when you sign. Also, in Argentina, we already signed a partnership with Mercado Libre. Mercado Libre is the major marketplace in the world. It's a NASDAQ company, and we're gonna use the Mercado Pago platform, that is a payment aggregator, to make top-ups on the Cryptobuyer platform. This is the kind of player that we are looking for all the time.
You mentioned the whole OXXO thing, and of course, I know you're speaking about like things on a much larger level about the companies and things you're doing. Let's get very specific though. So how would Cryptobuyer be integrated through OXXOs? What could you do if you went to an OXXO?
Okay, when you go to the OXXO locations, when you go to the cashiers have a terminal. In this terminal, the people can make payments of electricity bills, payments of credit cards, also make mobile top-ups of any kind of services in Mexico. When you go to one of these locations, you're going to talk with the cashiers. I want to make a top-up of Cryptobuyer. Or you can go simply with a slip that we're going to create online that you're going to receive on your mobile phone with a QR code. And the cashier of the OXXO, of one of the 10,000 locations in Mexico, needs to only scan the QR code that I sent to you. And I want to return around, I don't know, 2,000 pesos or 10,000 pesos. You give the cash to the cashier, and that's it. You're going to be automatically reflected on your Cryptobuyer account. You're going to have 10,000 on the fiat wallet, and you're going to make any kind of these transactions that I already show you.
So how about the other way around? Will you be able to go with a piece of paper, a slip, or access your account and get pesos out right there in the stand? Is that going to be something that's possible?
That is something that is possible, but because the actual regulations, and you need to start with this. You need to start with the on-ramp, but for the on-ramp, obviously, you need to have a specific license, but we are already working on that, okay? For in the first stage, you only need to go on-ramp. But the idea is to complement the off-ramp with the ATMs. That's the reason, because Cryptobuyer have a complete ecosystem that connects all the dots. If you want to buy, you have the platform. You have all these partners to make the on-ramp. But if you want to make a cash out, we have the ATMs on all these locations to make the cash out. Obviously, maybe it's not the most straightforward way, because the dream is to have all at the same side. But remember that we need to go through the local regulations of every country. And the best way that we find right now is to offer in that way. There is something that is already working in Panama. We want to replicate on Argentina and also in Mexico.
So what about, how would a fee structure work in this way? So say I have, my cousin lives in Jalisco, right? And I want to send him some money because he, let's say he works for me. In fact, he has actually worked in the Dash meetup program that we Dash Force run. So this has happened before. He has gotten Dash from us. But so let's say we send him some Dash and he just wants cash, wants pesos. So I send it to him. He goes into one of these Oxxos and there's an ATM in there, right? And then that's how he uses it to get cash. He goes and beep, he sends to the ATM, he gets the cash out. What kind of fee would that be?
Actually, in the ATMs, we are in a fee structure that depends obviously on the country. In Panama, we have around 5 to 10%. I know there's some super expensive right now. When you see the options of the ATMs all around the world, the average fee is around 8%. When we grow the transactions, when we have options like Dash with instant send that make more easily and more cheap to transact, obviously our dream is to be in around 1 to 3% for these kind of transactions.
That's the goal.
Okay, that's the goal.
So that's the goal, is that someone could receive some Dash, run into the OXXO, get it out from the ATM. And I apologize a little bit for speaking extremely simple and extremely specific terms. I'm trying to get people to imagine the possibilities rather than, the platform can do these things. It's just like the hard stuff. Someone walks in, and what does Western Union charge to send money right now? Do you know? Or what's the kind of range?
We have right now two interesting things. It's a great question. For example, here in Panama, the minimum amount to send via Western Union is $100 and charge you around 10%. Okay. And in some conditions, you need to wait around 3 days to receive this money.
Yes.
Okay?
So when you're doing a side-by-side comparison here, and of course, this is all hypothetical. Once you get the ATMs going, once you get a lot more volume in, and but it's hopefully coming to where Western Union, someone sends something to Mexico, somewhere around, they have $100 minimum. Again, let's just talk generally, like, this is something that could be somewhere around a $100 minimum, somewhere around 10%. They got to wait a few days. But if they use Dash, they send Dash instead, it only costs up to, say, 3%, and it's like instant. It's completely instant, and they can send just a few dollars if they need to. It's like, I need grocery money. Can you help me out, Paisa? And then it's like, all right. And then you just send them some money real quick. Oh, thanks. He gets it, and he hits the grocery store.
And Joel, this is something that happens all the time. The people maybe receive, I don't know, the minimum wage here in Panama is around $600. And the people don't have $100 to send to his family abroad, and only have $20, or maybe have, I don't know, $10. And this is something very interesting that happens here with the ATMs. The people go with only a $20 bills, put in the machine, and send to his family in Venezuela, or in Colombia, or in Argentina. And it's happening all the time. And that's the key differentiator that we have to another platforms. And also, I want to talk a little bit more of the ATMs, because the people trust more in a machine than in a platform.
Yes, because it could be a website run by some crazy person out of somewhere in Africa, and which, nothing wrong with that, but people just think it could be this thing, could be some complete scam. They could be photoshopping a different head on to You know, they all the scammy stuff, but a machine, it's there and it's probably full of money, and you can try to hit it and get it out. It's secure. It's hard. It's like, all right, well then I can at least, if it works, it works. Like if someone bought a real hard thing and just stuck it there, there must be something real behind it.
For us, it's an educational instrument. Is one of the key elements of our operation right now. It's funny because the people go to the support side and ask, how can I make the transaction in the ATM and all the stuff, and two weeks later ask again, how can I make the transaction in the ATM? Think about it around, I don't know, 1 month to make the first transaction. Obviously, we are talking to people that are don't have this kind of knowledge. When go to one of the locations and make the transaction in less than 1 minute, they blow their minds. Because a client tell me, I was reading around 1 month how to make a transaction and saw videos on YouTube and other stuff, but I was scared. But when I go to the machine and do the transaction in less than 1 minute, was killer. And for the user experience, is one of our best products right now.
I guess it's important to have these ATMs in established, well-known, recognized brands. Now, you've mentioned Mexico, and is it OXXO? I mean, I've never heard of this. So, is this like a 7-Eleven or like a Walmart?
For a brief, for a brief primer on OXXOs, they're basically competitors of 7-Eleven, but they're owned by the same company that produces a lot of major beers and distributes those same beers. So it's like a giant mega corporation. And so I've had a lot of different people talk to me, including Danny Sessom. He's all about getting into the OXXOs, about especially if you get them, if you start to build a relationship with that. It's just sort of like, what if you got Dash enabled at a Cryptobuyer ATM, and then you're like, okay, but then we got the exchange too. But then what about the point of sale system? Oh, now you start seeing those things. And so getting into the OXXO thing could be obviously there's a lot more complications beyond you just offer it in these little kiosks here in these little stores. There's a big barrier between that to, does the corporation now start dealing in cryptocurrencies and accepting them and all that? That's a huge barrier, but it's still like, well, look, on all your stores, look at all this activity that happens. So I still think it's a very, very cool thing.
How are you educating people though to use it? Because there has to be some kind of outreach. I mean, it's one thing having YouTube videos, which are great. I'm going to have to check those out. But like, how are you educating? Because it's great that you're getting this stuff, especially in Mexico. I think that's going to be an amazing market to get into. Yeah. But like, how are you going to educate the people so they can understand what they're doing? Do you have like an outreach strategy?
Yeah, we are working with several strategies. Obviously, social media is the main goal. We are using some influencers. In fact, today we are recording a new video of the operation of our point of sale that we want to publish the next week. But at the end, the most important thing is the educational part. And it's something that Cryptobuyer was focused from the beginning, okay? We are making workshops directly with all the merchants we are operating. We are putting together all the managers of the stores that we are operating and teaching, this is the operation, this is how it works, but also telling, this is the scope of the cryptocurrency, this is the history of the cryptocurrency in a very, very easy way. Because at the end, the idea and the main goal is the managers and the people of the store use the system all the time, and the next have the ability to teach to another people and also to the clients to operate. This is part of the strategy that we are working right now. It's part of the agreements we are close to be announced with the dashboard team in order to push more the educational side on our locations, because it's going to be great not only to announce we are operating on these locations. We need to have people there educating the people, showing that you're going to have an option. It's funny because in some of the locations that we have, for example, in Venezuela, the people tweet about the experience. Maybe the line that are paying in cash or in US dollar are more long and the people when go to pay with cryptocurrency, it's super quick. And this happened the last week. Someone put on Twitter, I go to one of the tracking locations, the people spend half an hour to make a payment in cash in US dollars because they are accepting US dollars. But I only spend 5 minutes paying with crypto. I'm paying with a point of sale. But you need to have people in place. You need to have people onboarding the merchants, onboarding the clients. It's a tough task, but we embrace it. We're very happy.
So this is an interesting thing to think about. Obviously, you can say buy. So if someone has a Cryptobuyer account and they want to buy, say they want to buy Dash with US dollars, right? What's the fee like to get that usually? If I just want to buy it, I don't want to, just want say $100 a Dash.
Well, this is something that we are not making in Venezuela because the only on-ramp that we are allowed to operate in Venezuela is Venezuelan bolivars.
Mm-hmm.
But in here in Panama, for example, the people can use the web platform or use the ATMs. But mostly the people use the ATM to make their own ramp using US dollars. Okay, but the thing is that the people in Venezuela tell to this family outside, the only way that I have right now to receive your money, to receive your remittance, is with crypto, because I don't need to go to exchange to local currency and get exposed to the volatility and get exposed to the hyperinflation. I can go directly to one of these locations of Cryptobuyer and make the payment. And it's something that is happening right now.
May I ask what your strategy is for Colombia? We spoke about Venezuela. You mentioned Argentina, Mexico, which is huge, but Colombia, obviously, we got a lot of grassroots movements, and Dash is doing phenomenally well in Colombia at the moment in terms of onboarding merchants and reaching out to users, getting them to download Dash wallets, etc. However, I'm just thinking about from news that I've seen on the TV. Well, I mean, I think at one stage, like 50,000 Venezuelans were reportedly crossing the border like every single day. And as we spoke about remittances and stuff earlier, are you doing anything in Colombia? I think obviously exchange-wise you operate in Colombia, but are you reaching out to merchants? Do you have a business development strategy for Colombia?
Yeah, well, first the real statistics about the Venezuelans in Colombia right now reach around 2 million.
Wow.
2 million Venezuelans in Colombia. Obviously, these people are running from Venezuela because obviously are looking for better ways to live. But our focus right now with Colombia is that the people use the platform, the web platform from Colombia to send and receive remittance. Okay, because most of the people that run from Venezuela still have bank accounts in Venezuela and receive some kind of payment, maybe sell something, some kind of stuff that have in their home and receive the payment in bolivars, but at the same time make the exchange being in Colombia, but making the operation in Venezuela and receive the payment. It's something strange, but it's happening.
So your preferred, okay, so I'm Colombian, I'm Venezuelan. I've come across the board to seek work and to earn money in Colombia, but I still have family back home. I want to send some funds there. And preferred choice would be to, while I'm in Colombia, go to the Cryptobuyer exchange, switch up my Colombian fiat currency for Dash via Cryptobuyer exchange, and then send Dash to my family in Venezuela. So get them to install Dash wallets. And that's the easiest, fastest, probably the cheapest way as well, right?
Absolutely. And also you don't need to trust about a guy that have on a guy that have on a guy that have on a bank account and share you, I don't know, in X amount of fees. Obviously in these situations, on this humanitarian crisis, they have a lot of people take advantage of the poorest. That's the reason, because we really believe with these kind of solutions are very empowering of the people in this kind of situations.
So here's a couple questions about the platform itself, and especially regarding evolution. We've had a couple of those too in the chat, which is nice. But let me just sort of complete the picture. First, let me say about a possible remittance angle type thing. This very real, by the way, which if it does happen, I'll be talking about on the podcast all the time. There's a restaurant, like I could throw a baseball from my porch and hit it. It's like right there. Some Mexican restaurant run by Mexicans, and based on a bunch of things, I have a feeling they have a lot of remittance action going on there, and they tend to prefer cash. And also, another friend of mine who works for Dash is very local, and he loves that place, and he wants to get them to take Dash. Now, of course, whenever you have conversion in and out, there's always fees involved, and that always makes it like if you have to buy Dash, and like say, let's just take Bitcoin to be even more ridiculous. You buy Bitcoin, you spend a few percent getting it, you send it, you eat some of that in fees, and at the end, you have to spend another fee. And so the end, that kind of takes away from the efficiency, right? And with Dash, you basically don't have that middle fee, but you still have to get in and you have to get out. The best is if you just already have Dash to send back. So say the owner of this restaurant wants to send remittances back home. He installs the AnyPay point of sale system or any other point of sale system that just gets the Dash right into the wallet. Someone like myself goes with some friends out. We have dinner and drinks, whatever. Somewhere around $60 to $80 worth between the group of us worth of Dash. We pay it to him. It hits right to his wallet, and he gets bing a notification instantly. He calls up his homie, and he's like, "Hey, Paisa, let me send it to you. Yeah, I got something sending to you. Run to the OXXO and go get it out quick." No volatility that way, right? Because that's the problem with Dash and any other cryptocurrency at this point is there it goes up and down. And so if someone's counting on money to send to their family and it tanked 15%, like that could be a very big problem. And so if they're, hey, let me send it, the guy, he sends it to his friend, and then he gets it out for like 1 to 3% at the ATM flat. That's it. And then he starts putting up like, hey, can I hire someone like Mark Mason to wear a big inflatable Dash icon suit and just dance and do outside the restaurant, and just, can I get more people to spend Dash? Because every time I spend Dash, I can go send it back home wherever I need it, and then just right away it gets accepted. So that's a little like rant. Now, questions specifically about the point of sale system. And I'm very interested in that because I don't have a bank account. I only spend Dash. And that's what I really care about, is businesses that are able to accept Dash, which in cryptocurrency is extremely rare, unfortunately. Businesses that actually take it, people actually spending it in point of sale environments is way too rare. So Cryptobuyer Pay, I remember I tried it out a few years ago, and then I got distracted with other things, and then whatever, it didn't happen. But first off, does it convert to fiat currency? Is there an option?
Right. That's right. Well, one of the first things when you make the onboarding to a merchant is obviously you need to explain what is the cryptocurrency. This is the hardest part of the deal because first you need to convince this guy that it's an option for their business. And we tried several ways all the time to try to have these guys on board very quickly. We start with small merchants. We start with looking for the educational side, the educational part of the stuff. But at the end, the merchant don't want to deal about volatility, don't want to deal about the price climbing up and down. And the way that we are offering right now is you're going to have Visa, Master, American, and now crypto. And the next day, you're going to receive the same US dollars, the same fiat on your bank account from every one of these options, okay? You're only going to have an optional different way. They have a different market, they have a niche, and also have clients that are interested to go to your location only because you are accepting cryptocurrency. You want to have it? And that's it. In this way, the merchants are more open to try, okay? But the funny thing is, when they start working with our system and start dealing with the clients that also are explaining about cryptocurrency, and also our clients becomes our sellers because they start educating to the merchant about not only you're gonna have this option, you know that you can use your cryptocurrency to receive to make investments, or maybe to purchase another stuff, or I don't know, any kind of thing that you can imagine. And next, and happens several times, the merchants call back to you and tell you, is any way that I can receive half of the payment of the liquidation in crypto? Well, we don't force the merchant to use or
you
to
just
accept.
let the process take care of itself.
Okay.
Now, when the conversion happens, a little bit more in the details, right? So, first of all, what's the fee to convert to? Like, you pick a country. Let's say Panama, since you're most, centered there, right? Let's say they say Panama. They accept through Cryptobuyer. They accept Dash. In order to turn it into fiat into their bank account, what's the fee on that?
Well, 0. The merchant received 100% of the transaction. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the things that also make more attractive the proposal to the merchant, because we are not charging any kind of fee for installation, maintenance, or any kind of fee. If the merchant process a Dash transaction of $100, it's going to receive $100 on the next day on their bank account. We are making the share to the user, and the user is happy to pay the fee because don't need to go to an exchange, don't need to go to lose, I don't know, 5, 6, or 7%. That is the average cost to make the conversion here in Panama, for example. And it's something that repeats all across the region. And in that way, we also embrace to the user, the holder of the cryptocurrency, to make the payment, because maybe it's going to save him 2 or 3 points to make the operations.
So what does it cost the user then? Like, if I say I'm paying a $2 coffee, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I have enough Dash for that. How much in Dash am I going to pay? Is it going to be like
we are sharing right now around 4%. Obviously,
mm-hmm.
Again, the idea is to try to lower and lower these transactions. But it's the same that I tell to the people. You can have the best system, the most quick, they have all the options, and also be the more cheap at the same time. Mostly for a startup like us. Eventually, it's we're gonna grow and have more operation and more transactions. That is the goal in the next months. Obviously, we're gonna go down with these amounts, but at this moment, it's around 4%.
Yeah. So, and the way that works, you link your bank account as the merchant, and then every day that amount of fiat gets put into the account. It's just every day. So
yeah, but you have a closing at the end of the day, and you're gonna receive as a merchant a report of the transactions, and you're gonna receive this amount on the next day on your bank account.
Does the amount get locked in when the transaction gets received? Yeah,
it's on the fly. It's a transaction on the fly that is automatically converted in fiat through our exchanges.
Yeah, so to clarify for the listeners and viewers why that's important. What if you have say you make $100 purchase, then the price tanks overnight because, say, the president of the US said something stupid, which can happen. And boom, all of a sudden you have like $80 worth.
Mm-hmm,
and it's like, all right, this is what you get in your bank. You'd be like, oh no, I was counting on that $20 to pay an employee a few hours. No. So it seems like it's the dream solution for a merchant. Now, so here's the other thing. You said that some of them might want to keep 50% and might want to keep 50% or something. So do you have a system that's automated that lets them do that, to be like, when I get a Dash transaction, sell half of it? Is there something already that makes that automated, or do they have to kind of figure something out on their own?
Great question. When we make the onboarding of the merchants, you're going to fill some kind of information. And obviously, we make a KYC. We are only operating with physical locations right now. And the idea is to go through online locations, have an API to online merchants. But for now, it's only for physical locations that we can make a proper KYC. Okay. When you have in one of the last step of the onboarding, you choose. You want to receive 100% of the transaction in fiat, or 50-50%. And if you choose 50% in crypto, you obviously put the wallet where you're gonna receive the cryptocurrency. If you choose that option, you're gonna receive on the fly the transaction.
And that's largely because you're, as you said earlier, Cryptobuyer is non-custodial, right? So I'm trying to picture when you're in Venezuela and you've onboarded these tracky big superstores. Obviously, they've got their own dedicated bank accounts, those each ones, but to get them set up on a, their own Dash account, essentially, you can't really provide that from your side because you're non-custodial. So I can see why you've kind of passed on the fees to the consumers, so you overcome that obstacle of selling the POS solution to the merchants to make it as streamlined as possible, so they don't have to worry about the technicalities in the back end. It does what it does. And I guess really for us, if Dash continues to do what it does, consumers will choose to use Dash over Bitcoin and Litecoin because it's less fees for them, right?
So now when I'm thinking about the conversion, so if you do, say it's about 4% overcharge for the consumer to buy something in Dash when the business converts 100%. So if the business does a 50-50, does that mean that the fee is now 2% because half of it is just going to Dash to hold and the other half is converted? Does that mean it's now only a 2% overcharge for the consumer?
No. In this case, because it's transparent for the user, the consumer don't need to know in what way the merchant received the payment. Okay, this is it's an internal deal, and every deal is different with every location. The conditions for tracking are totally different for, I don't know, one of the auto chains that we're gonna announce soon. For example, have different necessities, and that is the hard part. The business part is having a specific deal for one of each of the locations.
Yeah. Now the last question on the point of sale system is which countries is it available in? And when I ask, when I mean it, I mean in which countries can a merchant onboard? Can they use the Cryptobuyer Pay point of sale system and receive fiat conversion into their bank account in that country's currency? Which countries so far?
The system is available to every country worldwide. You can have this point of sale system. You're gonna have this web platform that allows any kind of merchant to receive the payment in crypto without exposed to the volatility. The thing here is where you're gonna receive the liquidation. If you have accounts in the US, you can receive the liquidation. If you have bank accounts in Panama, you can receive the liquidation. Also in Colombia and soon in Argentina and Mexico. One of the key elements here is that you have people all across Latin America that have bank accounts in the US or have bank accounts in Panama. Because one of the first things when a Colombian or Argentinian goes to Miami, for example, is open a bank account.
Yeah, of course.
This is something that repeats all across Latin America. It's something very familiar. And this is the niche we are following. Merchants that have this kind of instruments. Obviously, the idea is to expand to more specific partners of on-ramps that allows any kind of merchant to receive in the local fiat. But we are only working right now with Venezuelan bolivars in Venezuela and US dollars in Panama and also in the rest of the country.
Yeah, so now when you said that Mexico's on the roadmap soon to have Mexican bank accounts in pesos, do you know kind of when that would be? Is it a few months? Is it at the end of the year? Is it next year? Obviously, you won't know until it actually happens, but as far as estimations, when do you think that would be?
Well, the good part of the history is that all the agreements and all the onboardings with the actual partners in Mexico are already signed. Obviously, we are in the process on a fundraising to empower this operation because Mexico and also Brazil are huge market, and you need to have the proper resources to enter in these markets. As a little startup that we are, the idea is to have more funds from several initiatives that we are running right now to start the operations. But the partnerships are already signed. They are only waiting that Cryptobuyer start operation. But the idea, in short, is to start at the end of the year.
So the
very
announcement,
nice.
the announcement you mentioned just before, very, very quickly, you said that in the next few days you're going to have an announcement of a big chain, well-known brand. This is separate to Mexico. This is something new. Is that right?
That's right. And I can tell you right now, we are close to in the final stage to onboard one of the major auto chains in the region that is operating in Latin America.
You say auto chain. Is that like vehicles?
Autos.
Yeah, like vehicle. Right? Is that driving or?
No, autos. They are focused on traveling. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And they are focused on millennials and also with people that are very aware about the cryptocurrencies. Eventually, we want to start working in around 14 countries with this auto chain.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I love the questions Joel's asked you about the POS solution, from the fees to onboarding merchants to how it works on the back end for the merchants. I want, enough questions. I want to see it. Can we see the POS solution live? I'm dying because I've seen many POS solutions for Dash already, but I've not seen I've seen pictures and short videos from Isabel's merchant videos, but like I want to see it.
Yes. And to add to that, by the way, can I make a payment to it right now, live on the podcast?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll send you some Dash. It won't be very much because the price is down. I got bills to pay.
Well, like if you choose the QR code, you could get multiple payments by people watching the podcast. If they're watching it live by a video.
The people who are watching, please don't send anything else. Let Joel make the payment. Okay, I will share my screen right now. I'm going to start showing the point of sale. The first thing, the point of sale is a web app. Okay, this is one of the key elements. We don't force the merchant to have another system or a device or even download any kind of application. This is a simple web app that opens and runs in any kind of browser. That's it. Okay, we don't want to tell to the merchant, you need to install this application on your mobile phone. Or maybe the situation in Venezuela that the people even have Android 4.0 devices, and all the new wallets or all the new generation point of sales need to run in around the version 8.0 of Android. That is not going to happen in Venezuela, for example. The people simply don't have these kind of devices. The way that we choose is to have a web app that opens and runs on any kind of device, tablet, and also the point of sale can run on the cashier on mobile phone, for example. And this is another thing. The owner of the merchant don't need to be there, but it's something that happens with other solutions. Is the owner of the merchant of the shop that already have the application are not in the shop at that moment, you lose the sale. Okay, we don't have that. We figure it out in this way because you can open in your actual cashier, and also you can run in any kind of device. And in this moment, I'm gonna log in with my own credential. And when you start and see, look how different is, Joel, from the last time when you entered to Cryptobuyer Pay. You have around, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different options that you don't see around 1 year ago. Basically, you have on a platform when you can see all the list of the transaction, the point of sale solution, the payments via email or payment link, and also you can program refunds in case of someone or some client wants a refund. But well, go to the action. We only need to choose the point of sale option. In this case, obviously, we are gonna transact with Dash.
Old logo Dash, really old school stuff, you know.
And now, well, How much you want to pay, Joel?
How about $3? It's like a slightly fancier coffee.
Okay, $3 and push and pay. We only need to put my email in this case, and the logic is to put your email, the email of the user. But in this case, we are gonna put my own email, and the system is gonna make the transaction. Okay. In this case, you can see in the transaction window that is awaiting for payment. You have okay, was
Bam.
fast, was super fast. Well, we spent more time trying to get the transaction that the time was confirming. Okay, and that's it. It's super simple. For the people that are only hearing, we put $3 on the point of sale, and you'll make the payment from the other part of the world very quickly. So and you can see the list of the transactions.
So the customer has to put in their email to make payment.
That's right. In the email, you're gonna receive first the option to have the QR code directly, and also the second email is gonna be your receipt. Okay, the receipt of the transaction. Okay.
So the email is just for the receipt.
That's correct. That's correct.
Is there any way to skip that part of the process?
That's correct. That's correct. It's something that is going to be we can implement depending of the merchant. In this case, this is a generic demo account, and obviously it's activated by default, but we can be off if you want. Okay. There is something that is asked for our actual merchants. Okay, because was not present in the first version. You can skip the options to put an email, but this is something that the merchants all the time wants to have some kind of report of the transaction. The other stuff that you're gonna have on the point of sale solution is the payment via email. You can put again any kind of email, put the amount of the transaction, the kind of payment that you want to execute, receive money or check for a product or services, put a message and request a payment, and the system is gonna see it's gonna send a payment link, and the final users is gonna choose what kind of cryptocurrency you want to use to pay. Okay, that is basically the operation. It's super simple. We don't want any kind of friction with the merchant. Okay, we don't want the merchants start dealing with, I don't know, private keys and all this kind of stuff. And the other important thing about this solution is that the merchant can trust on his employees or in the cashier, because the only thing that they can do with the point of sale is to receive payments. Okay. If you only want to have on a wallet or maybe on a specific phone in your location, eventually the cashier can, I don't know, take the funds from the application. But in this case, we don't have this kind of problems. These applications opens in any kind of browser.
So let's paint a mental picture here now. This seems to be a very easy to set up and use. It seems like merchants are going to be skeptical. And I actually had this. I was talking to a merchant in Chicago about taking Dash to Gig set up, and I just was talking about how much it would cost to get him in the thing, and he basically asked, like, what's in it for you? Like, why are you queuing me in on this cheap thing? I was just saying, I love Dash. That's why, right? I like using it. I want it to go. My world gets better the more people use it. But anyway, once you get this set up in some supermarkets in Mexico, for example, there's one big one called the VH, the Valenzuela Hermanos, which is, it's funny because I have a brother and his last name is Valenzuela as well, so it's kind of funny. But so you get in like a VH or something like that, and then what you could do, someone can go buy some Dash up here, send it to friend, grandma, whatever, get back home, and then they go and buy it with it directly, to where they don't have to worry about exchanging or going up to a machine or this whole extra thing. Or we could do what we just did right now, and assuming there's good enough data service, you can just go and say, hey, I'm going to go buy it. And then you just show the phone, and then they just pay it through the phone right for you.
Let me tell you a story that happens every time in Venezuela, for example. Someone's go to one of the locations, put all the stuff on the cashier, make the final calculations, and ask to pay with crypto. Tracky, for example, or any one of these merchants, generate the QR code, and this person take a picture of the QR code and send to his family in Spain or in Italy. This is the receipt. Please make the payment for me. And this is happening every week in Venezuela, for example. And this person don't send a remittance, simply make the payment directly for groceries or for food or for any kind of stuff. And the people
don't give Isabel any ideas.
Yeah. So funny thing about that, this is an idea that would be good to show exactly how cool this whole thing is why don't we do some videos with Isabel where she walks around all day and buys a whole bunch of stuff, like assuming the video connection is good enough, and I just buy everything for her. And, you know, do like a sugar daddy day and just go beep, beep, beep. And but then you just take those clips and put them together. You just see, like, look, if you want to, and that also takes the, when you're talking about a lot of people that like you're into charities and stuff, or, you know, want to do good. And there's a lot of nonsense in between. I've worked at nonprofits my whole life until I started getting in crypto. And even in the best of circumstances, there's a whole lot in between. If you give your $20 to a charity, very little of that will end up actually going to the end person. And you have to take a lot of research. But if you just say, oh, adopt a kid, for this much money, they can okay, whatever. Show me the kid on live video stream. Show them trying to buy something. I'll do it myself. I'll do it myself. Or video feed, beep, beep, just do it. That could be some pretty powerful stuff. And I think a lot of people would be able to click just on, because people still are very theoretical with cryptocurrencies. They're very theoretical that, oh, this could work. Oh, it's going to revolutionize everything. You know, your Roomba is going to run on the Ethereum blockchain, vacuuming up stuff. Oh, everything's going to, you're going to have smart pants that, you know, have like people just talk about this stuff. They don't actually think about how it's going to be implemented. Or people just say, Bitcoin's going to help this country that needs it. And then that's kind of where the thinking ends. It's not visualizing. And so once you say, and also people just say, like, it's easy to say, oh yeah, you can, Dash is great in Venezuela. Hey, Colombia, people are, oh, there's pictures and stuff. It's like, yeah, whatever, it's all staged. But once you actually show, I'm buying someone through the phone here, I'm showing you you walking into the business. Can I have this? Right there. You can just see it, and you post some transactions on the blockchain whenever it's appropriate to prove it. People are going to get this and be like, whoa, this is cool. And you start putting advertisements out on YouTube, Facebook, wherever else, just for random people who are interested in these things. People will kind of get that. And one thing I noticed about the immigrant communities in the US is they're extremely reliant on word of mouth. They don't really, let me see Google, let me go to Snopes.com and see if this is accurate. Or there's a lot of like, oh yeah, my buddy over there, he sends it this way. Oh, show me how to do it. And then they all talk about, oh, here's the place. I hear this place is hiring, because you can't always advertise public jobs to people who might not have, you know, paperwork to do that. But it's, oh, I heard this guy's hiring, he pays this. Why don't you go over there? And oh, my brother here, and how about you do that? Those networks, those peer-to-peer decentralized networks, as it were, is already how it works. And so if you actually show someone a video and then get that person to start using that form of remittance, then they'll start telling their friends and their families and stuff, and you start that big snowball going downhill, getting bigger all the time.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And also you never forgive the power of the social media. The social media for us is a key element. And it's funny because we already make a couple of advertising with professional stuff, cameras and all the thing. But when we publish the videos of the I don't know, people that spontaneously make videos on the locations, we get better radius of views of these people that goes and put a video with something very viral. And when you see the numbers against or actual pieces of advertising, it's crazy. It's crazy. The people prefer the real stuff, the real things. And that's the reason, because the public and the users of Cryptobuyer are our first priority, because always validate our products, because it's part of the evolution of the company. It's always here, the users.
Part of the evolution of the company. I like that word. In fact, we're getting close to the end of the time, but I have 2 evolution related questions. There are hypotheticals, and then Mark can get it, whatever else is on his mind, since I've been, for a change, monopolizing conversation. Sorry, Mark, I'm taking your
it's all good.
your status. First off, I noticed with all those logins, there was login with Facebook, Google, whatever, as just a way to get started.
Mm-hmm.
And then I noticed that when you add your address, so when you buy it, it goes to the address, the static address. One address, it goes to that one. First thing I thought of course, was Dash Evolution and usernames. So first off, do you have any plans or ideas? Obviously, it's not out yet. We don't know the specifications yet, but to allow people to log in with a Dash username, and it also connects their Dash username instead of a static address to the end, to where they log in with their Dash account, and then when they buy something on Cryptobuyer, it gets sent to their username, which backend would generate a new address every time, but just connects to that username. And just have like a one login, as opposed to a third-party service like your email or Facebook, and then just an address. Just have that be one login for both. What do you think about that?
For us, it's gonna be a killer app, because one of the first things that we always think is how can embrace the people, how can make this process more easily, how can deal with the address, the different wallets, all this kind of stuff. Obviously, for us, it's something that we are looking very excited, because Evolutions is going to handle this problem very, very, very well. It's not only make the payment fast, it's also make easy to the final users, and also to onboard the new people that don't want to deal about private keys, don't want to deal about address. Okay, this is the only way to make this thing mainstream. The people make right now payments on PayPal. Okay, it's your email, or maybe in Venmo is your mobile phone. And this kind of stuff. The people want to have in a very, very easy way, and this is the only way to make this mainstream. And I'm very, very excited about the possibilities that Evolution can give with this kind of solution.
Yes. Now, my last thing, and then I'll let Mark ask whatever he wants, and then we should wrap up, is we've been talking all about how amazing and awesome everything is, both Dash and Cryptobuyer. Now I'm going to make something that could possibly be a negative, so be prepared. No, I still like you. Right now, with a cryptocurrency point of sale system, the way most of them tend, which, you know, what, all 2 of them, right? There's not many, but the way most of them work with a fee structure is the customer pays a fee to send the money. Not much. And not much in Dash's case, not much in Litecoin's case, not much in Bitcoin Cash's case, not much in Bitcoin SV's case, kind of a lot in BTC Bitcoin's case. But most of the customer pays a little fee, and then the merchant pays a conversion fee to get it into their bank account. Or, you know, if they wanted to then move that to spend it, you know, there would be a transaction, whatever. It's mostly fees on the merchant end and just a little bit on the customer end. That's kind of the way it works. Now, Ryan Taylor, the Dash Core Group CEO, who has tons of payment industry experience, recently, a few weeks ago, he started mentioning about fee structures, merchant fee structures, and he said that it's unacceptable to have a payment system where the customer pays the fee. He does not like it. In fact, he was talking about a system where the merchant would have all the fee, including the Dash broadcasting fee. And I don't know exactly how that would work technically, but it wants to create a system where the merchant pays the entire fee, customer pays 0 fee, and the merchant even has a Dash back program where they send, like, say, he said they send a little bit of the money back to the customer. So the customer actually gets a discount by using Dash, kind of like a rewards points. And he mentioned like credit card rewards points of like 2%. He said you might be able to beat that with Dash, to where like the merchant can give more than 2% back to the customer and still make a profit over old payment systems. And that would be an optional system. They could give it or they could not. Now, that stuff got me really excited, just because he knows what he's talking about with the payment stuff. I never thought about this kind of stuff. I just thought, keep the fees low. I didn't know about like, well, the customer wants 0 fees. In fact, they want incentives to switch. The merchant already, but you're doing things the opposite way. You're it's free for the merchant, which is like, it's so good that they're skeptical. They're like, you know, ¿Dónde está la tranza? You know, they're like, oh, someone's trying to fool me here.
What is the catch?
Yes, but then the customer now, well, if you're trying to tell the customer, hey, why don't you get this? Cryptocurrency is great, except now you're going to have to pay money to spend it. So where does that thinking come in? And is it temporary? Are you going to change it? Like, basically, I think you know what you're doing. I think Ryan knows what he's doing. I think you two seem to be saying opposite things, and I want to kind of explore that a little bit.
You can expect different results doing the same thing that all the for us, but I totally agree with Ryan. I totally agree with that approach. It's unacceptable to make some kind of shares to the user. But at the other side, we are in pursuit of the massive adoption. And the only way to make this is to put big players on there. And the only way to convince of these guys, these big players, is offering something that these guys is going to spend anything. They don't need to pay on a single cent for your integration, at least on that moment. But my idea is in the future, maybe 1 year or 2 years, when these guys make, I don't know, 100,000 transactions monthly and are happy with us, okay, it's time to pay back.
Yes, the old bait and switch.
Maybe we can shake the model. I can split something. I don't know. But our main goal right now is to embrace big players, big names, because it's the only way that you're going to have this outreach of more people getting aware of cryptocurrency. When you go to a location and see people in a line waiting half hour to make a payment, and someone's go and only spend 5 minutes or I don't know, 1 minute, and you see all the people on this line telling, look at this guy, make the payment super quickly, and we are waiting in this line for 20 minutes. That's the kind of user experience, and this is the kind of stuff that we are looking for. And this is the kind of partners that Cryptobuyer is always in pursuit.
Let me also think about kind of, that gave me an idea about how that does work. First off, it seems to me that cryptocurrency users are the ones who, first off, have a lot more passion about it than necessarily the merchant. As in, they're just, oh, I'm a fan, I love it. Like me, I just live off of Dash. That's what I have. I love it. Most people like it, and so they're probably more willing to take a little bit of a fee. I mean, people buy stuff with Bitcoin, for crying out loud. They pay them. They actually buy. I think it's more often than most other coins because they like it. You know, they're probably more willing to do that than a merchant is, because they have, business and livelihood, and they already, the cryptocurrency user already made their money, and they already chose voluntarily to turn it into cryptocurrency or whatever. So they're probably in, at least at this stage of the adoption curve, they're probably more willing to field a little bit of a fee. Not to mention, though, that it's a lot easier to say, hey, download a wallet, sign up for an exchange, buy up a thing. It's much easier for a customer to do that than it is for the business owner to be like, now you have to integrate this into all your terminals, train staff how to use it. Now you have to worry about how you're going to file taxes, how you're going to do accounting. it's much harder to get a merchant on board. So therefore you're targeting them massively on that thing. Also, it probably might be a geographical thing too, because here, people like their money. It doesn't go down in value that slowly. They can pay from their phone a lot of times with Apple Pay or whatever, very quickly, very cheaply. People are trying to court them, and they get their money from work that they do in that country. Now, you go to, say, Mexico, there might be, okay, I do remember, so how many pesos to the dollar is it today?
Around 2,000, something like that.
Like 2,000 for Mexican pesos, right?
That's right.
Yes, I think it was like at least twice or three times as valuable compared to the dollar when I used to live there. So that's a big, I mean, the dollars, and I'm old enough to remember things being cheaper in US dollars in the US as well. So I've seen the devaluation of the dollar in my lifetime, and then the peso's been more. Wow. So first off, people are probably willing to buy cryptocurrency, and they're willing to take the fee because they already have that extra value from just having it. And probably also, they're already expecting to receive a much smaller percentage of the money because it gets sent from another country a lot of times. Not always, of course, it's not, but it is a large industry in Mexico. A large source of revenue for Mexicans is receiving remittances. So they're already prepared to pay a fee. And if they can already save that, then for a Mexican, again, I'm using an example that I'm more familiar with. They'd be much more tolerant of paying a little fee to spend their money at a grocery store. And so, is that true?
Because it's a situation that repeats all across Latin America and Central America. As you say, the remittance was one of the first incomes of all this region. And the major corridors of remittance are in Central America and in Mexico, obviously. This is not going to work in the US when you have Venmo, when you have all this kind of payment system. Even don't want to work in the UK when you have several options and neobanks working. This is going to work, and the region that is already working is Latin America. And I tell to the investors all the time, maybe for you it's abstract, but our work is to show to the community, to show to the investor that it's a real alternative for the people in this region, because are too far away of the new achievements of the financial system in the world. You see the hearings of Libra, all the people collide in the same. This is going to work on this region when the people are unbanked. That's it. And we are making the first steps, the more hard steps in this stage. Obviously, we are taking all the bullets, but we are super excited about the possibilities that we're going to open in the region, showing real things, because this is the other stuff. Other people talk about the potential of blockchain to change the world. But what are you showing? What are your achievements? Where are your partners with you, and with who are you working? And this is our main goal right now. Show that we are a real alternative, and we are working with real stuff, with real people, and with real clients.
Excellent. May I ask a question? Dash Core Group. I want to know are you in communication with them a lot? Before we went live on the podcast, you mentioned about instant send functionality. What's your experience been with Dash Core Group in terms of the development? If you need help, can you rely on them? And are they assisting you with anything right now?
We actually are working and talking every month. We are sending our reports, because the idea is to also the core group and the community of Dash see our achievements. And from 4 years ago, we are working with Dash, with was the first platform that operates with Dash in the region. And for us, was a key element for our growth. Okay, but now we are looking for options. Maybe we can apply for some kind of funding from the group, and also hopefully part of our goal is maybe be the first investment of the Dash investment fund.
Excellent. So
yes,
I know we really need to wrap this up soon, but you mentioned the Dash Investment Foundation. I know there's no details or anything, but you've spoken about it. You're open to it. So you're letting the community know now that the Dash Investment Foundation, you would be happy and you're actively interested in pursuing a dialogue conversation and get in Cryptobuyer giving equity to the Dash Investment Foundation, to the Dash network, correct?
Absolutely. We are looking for partners that really understand the business. And obviously, Dash is working with this, and digital cash is our goal, be a digital cash. And this is your words. Obviously, we meet with Ryan, all the team with Ryan in New York in Consensus months ago, and talk about the possibilities that we can open. Obviously, again, the investment fund and the core group are in the first stage of operation. But again, we are more than open to receive any kind of proposal and also to propose something. Because for us, the best partner is the one that is investing in education. And for us as a Venezuelans, Dash was a key element for the education in the region. If we want to be part of this in the next years.
Yeah, it seems kind of, I believe you guys are one of the only services. When I remember at the beginning, I was talking about the dropping Bitcoin for a little bit. And for me, that's kind of a sign of you use what works when it works, and not just because, oh, you're supposed to do this way. And there's so many crypto businesses based in first world countries that kind of operate as a hobby. Whether or not they're profitable, the wishes and the personal biases of the owners seem to take over, rather than does this work, does it not? And that kind of gives me hope. And just seeing this grand vision and hearing about all this, and it works here, and this is how it works, this is what we want. You seem like you're serious. Like you actually want, it's not just hype. It's not just so you can get an article published in CoinDesk about how you're helping the Venezuelans or whatever. It's like, it seems like you actually are trying to get something done, which
and it's something that I really believes all the team, Ruben, Angel, and all the people that is working with me, because it's a teamwork, are the same team from the beginning of the company, are the same, okay? We don't have people that left the company of the core team of the Cryptobuyer. Are the same people. We are really, really, really aware that it's gonna work. And well, we are pushing here, and hopefully we're gonna have the help of the Dash community.
Yeah, sounds like a great usage for the investment foundation. Now, this is not really a serious question, but have you ever thought about starting to operate in Zimbabwe?
Well, it's a great question, because our last investor is Invictus Capital, and Invictus Capital is in Cape Town in South Africa. And these guys invest in us because they see in Cryptobuyer something that can replicate in Africa. Okay, you can take a look. Invictus Capital investment in Cryptobuyer, and again, it's a South African company investing in a South American company, and the only reason is because they want the knowledge that we already reach here and wants to replicate on Africa. But definitely, it's something that we can explore.
Fantastic. I'm all out of questions. Mark, what do you think? We done?
I'd love to ask more, but I think we are pushing time a bit. I do have one request though. So if you do have an announcement in a few days' time, Jorge, please stay in contact with us and let us know. I'm hoping, obviously, it's going to be Dash centric as well, right? Because it has that Dash functionality, right? So with these merchants, hotels, right? Was he say hotels? Is that what it is?
Hotel.
Yeah. It's a big hotel chain. I wonder what it could be. Well, if you wait a few days, there might be an article on Dash News early next week. Fingers crossed. So yeah, keep us posted with us, a press release or whatever. Tell us afterwards, and we'll get the ball rolling on that. Thank you for joining us. I told you, like, we were going to aim for 1 hour, but there's so much to talk about. I knew it was going to go over time, but this is a good thing.
I'm open to collaborate in another occasion. I really appreciate, and all my team, all the Cryptobuyer teams, appreciate your support. And Joel, thank you so much for show to the people that we are really working with our point of sale. And well, open to any other opportunity.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
And I want to get Jorge to do a video with Isabel for Dash News Espanol to kind of give like a live demo, step-by-step process for Venezuelans in particular, how to use Cryptobuyer, because that seems to be one pain point that we've had within the Dash community, and I think that would serve as a great resource. So if there are any Spanish speakers or people from Latin America watching that, hopefully we can get that sorted in the next week or two and get that up and running, so you can have that as a resource to share with your friends and family. But if you're impatient and you can't wait a week or two, Cryptobuyer has some resources on their YouTube channel. So what social media would you like to people? Is the YouTube channel, just search Cryptobuyer? Is that the best place to go?
We are in all the social media with Cryptobuyer. We have different content for every social media, but obviously you can see the process, the ATMs, the point of sale, the actual operation of other products and services on the YouTube channel. But also you can keep updated on Instagram and Twitter and in Facebook. You have very different content for every platform.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. When we're a bit, now we've got the supervisor for the Dash Investment Foundation in place, hopefully we can have a conversation in the near future about some ideas and get the ball rolling and start talking about what options are available and what can happen.
Absolutely. We love it. Thank you so much for your time, guys. Great conversation.
Excellent. Joel, would you like to take us out?
Yeah. If you enjoyed what you're hearing and you did not manage to see it, first off, video is great. Not because I look good or Mark looks good. Not saying we don't, but Jorge looks good. And more importantly, you get to see the demos of actually the point of sale, the back end. You get to get in all that. So don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, because there's other people that want in on this kind of thing. Other people that should be watching this who aren't. And it's your fault for not liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and getting this out to the masses. So if you don't want to be a bad person, please do that. Now, if you, for some reason, like to exercise your imagination when you're hearing about back ends of fantastic crypto platforms, if you just want to imagine it and not actually see it, there's an audio-only version of this that comes out every Saturday. There's a post we do that has the recap for this and has links to the audio-only podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, all that good stuff. So make sure to look forward for that. And last but definitely not least, there's this little thing called the after party, which is like this, a nice old discussion, except it's not just the three of us. It's a bunch of people, not recorded, thankfully, just chatting about whatever we want until the wee hours of the morning. If you want in on that, you have to get to the Dash Talk Discord, the #1 source for Dash community awesomeness in the world. StayDashy.com is a link in there. Boom, right in the live chat. StayDashy.com gets you in there. You just start asking about it. Hey, I heard about this after party. Is the after party in here? Can I get in on that one? And then we'll let you in. And then there you go. You're gonna get to follow up. A lot of time people be like asking questions, or like, oh, this is great. I like what he's doing. Oh yeah, I have a guy who owns some business here and he wants to do it and he really wants to. And then we get to hash that out, and then we get to put him in contact with Jorge and other people, or some people like, yeah, but those. I saw the fee and I was like, oh, well, I don't think that's gonna work. Well, I think that we should get this solution, and then you get to talk over that, et cetera, et cetera. Just keep the party going. That's what I'm saying.
Excellent. Well, that was episode 113 of the Dash podcast. Press that like button if you're not done by now. Smash the Dash. Click subscribe. And even if you are a subscriber and you need to click the notification bell so you get alerted about future podcast episodes so you don't miss any Dashy goodness. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Stay positive, stay humble, but most importantly, stay dashy. Woohoo! Have a good weekend, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.